Are live. Welcome to my spoiler-free review of the 2020 Rusty Lake game, Samsara Room. As usual for Rusty Lake, this video will build on the videos I've done on earlier games in this franchise, and as usual, there are no spoilers in this video. You can play these out of order, and yeah, as usual, love this game. Now, the interesting thing here is kind of what isn't. Does that make sense? As far as I can tell, yeah, this was actually what the Rusty Lake Studios made, the developer, what they made before Rusty Lake and Cube Escape and that. And this is the remake. And like fairly few other of the Steam versions of their games, this is actually free. And yeah, it functions, you know, if you are just not really sure about this, this is a perfectly fine place to start. When I found that out, I was a little worried that it would not have any of the, you know, this is not a franchise that has had a absolutely huge amount of, like, changes, innovations over the course of them, especially when it comes to just gameplay mechanics. But I am pretty fond of the drag mechanic. I really think it added a lot, and it was added pretty early. I think it was only the second Rusty Lake game that had it, not including the Cube Escape games, a number of which, I guess most of which, are free on their website, although, you know, today they don't run. It's a long story. Moving on. Yeah, the drag mechanic is here, but it seems like they just changed some puzzles to fit with that rather than change a lot. Like, if you played this back when, let's see, I think, was it 2015 that it was originally, because it said, like, celebrating our 5-year anniversary, so, yeah, 2015 must have been the original, the free, yeah, the original version of this, and yeah, they did not change much. So if you played that one, you don't have to play this. I mean, I guess it's not super difficult to get the Steam achievements. You know, I got 6 out of 8 just by playing through it normally. But yeah, so it is very important to take this one on its own terms. Does not have a lot of plot. I suppose I won't give away whether it has any at all, but there's certainly not as much as some of the Rusty like Roots and Paradise. You know, there's plot. And it also does not have a huge amount of interaction with other living characters. You don't get to do that many, like, something that is big in several of the Rusty Lake games is that in addition to, you know, these are, oh right, I just realized, right, the game is mature, so will this video be. Yeah, like other Rusty Lake games, some of the Rusty Lake games have you, in addition to having morbid stuff just happen, some of the time you're the one doing it, and that is something that I think more morbid games should do. It's something that Silent Hill also does, and I'm sorry, it adds a lot. Maybe it sounds morbid to say, but, you know, you're watching a video on a Rusty Lake game, I don't know what to tell you. It just adds something. There's something extra there, you know, like, there's morbid stuff in Silent Hill, there's morbid stuff in Outlast. You know, actually, yeah, perhaps a better comparison is there's morbid stuff in crap, actually, I guess, never mind. I'm not going to make another comparison because that's technically a spoiler, but yeah. In Silent Hill, you do some of the morbid stuff. In Outlast, the morbid stuff tends to be, other characters doing. And yeah, it just, I mean, I'm not saying that they're otherwise exactly the same or anything. Obviously, the Silent Hill games are, like, quality-wise, significantly worse. I'm kidding, better. Significantly better, obviously, especially the first four. But yeah, I mean, it's just, we play video games to do something that we're not going to do in our real lives, so it feels like you're if you are developing a morbid game and you're refusing to go there, you're really cutting yourself off from some really amazing opportunities there, But there is still some of you doing stuff, and this does have some wonderfully, like, really warped imagery that's gonna stick with me for a while. Yeah. I think all I'll say about it, so as to not spoil, is that the Rusty Lake development team appreciate that you don't actually have to do very much with the human eye in a piece of morbid fiction media in order to really creep out the person experiencing it on the other end. They are really, really good at taking something that's like, well, yeah, I mean, it's the human eye. What, we use them daily. You don't actually have to do very much to make it really uncomfortable, and that's something. As long as they're this, like, disturbing, I'm not gonna mind the little things. Yeah. I get wanting to do this as a 5th year anniversary. I will say it feels coming on the heels of several that really, like, so the one right before this was The White Door, and that was just such, with the split screen and these, like, the way that you would dream the past or otherwise be confined to this one room, and this, the day going, the day having a routine to it, and yeah, I could talk forever about, again, like I said, this is meant to build on the other videos. I'm not going to restate a bunch of stuff, but it feels like a little bit of a step back, and I get why it does. I think it might have been good if they had released this before, although I do also appreciate, because it does bear a striking resemblance to, this, yeah, this was from back when they were primarily making escape room games, so this is very much, it's very, very similar to Cube Escape Paradox, the 2 chapters of that had also, if you're playing these in the order they were released on Steam, that had come out not very long before this. So yeah, I guess if they did it before The White Door, that would also be, yeah. With that said, some of what I love here is that, so I mentioned in my video on, Cube Escape Paradox. Right now I actually forget which of the 2 chapters it was, but it doesn't, it's not important. In one of those chapters, you time travel inside the room that you're stuck in. This one, you're not traveling through time, but you are altering your perspective in a way that I don't think I want to give away. I'll just say it was delightful. It was a really, and like with the time travel, yeah, really opens up, it's not a huge room, but once you add in more perspectives, yeah, like, there's a, like, I really would not recommend trying to brute force this, or really any Rusty Lake developed game. Yeah. I think that might more or less cover, Right. One thing I definitely will say, like some of the others, this does definitely, like, you do have to, puzzles get, like, multi-part, and that is somewhere where this does feel, I don't know, was this really not changed that much since the original? I haven't played the original, but this does feel, as far as puzzle complexity, it does feel somewhat more like it belongs when it came out rather than before. Because, like, you know, these were never, like, underwhelming games in my opinion, but, like, Rusty Lake Hotel, the very first, the earliest, if you go by the Steam release order, it's, in that one, it is more that, there's a bunch of individual puzzles that you have to solve. Whereas here, yeah, over the course of the next several, they would build up and there would be these multi-part, very, very familiar to if you're a veteran of the point-and-click genre. And yeah, that is still the case here. There are, it doesn't start extremely complicated, but it gets there. There are puzzles where you have to get right multiple different things that operate independently of one another. It's not, you pull a lever and then a thing opens. No, you pull a lever and then you have to figure out the next thing to do something with. Like, something might have changed, sure, but is not necessarily going to be 100% clear from right away exactly what, yeah. I think that might just about be it. Yeah, it's more like poetic and esoteric than really about plot. And yeah, that might just about be it. I think pretty much anything else I could say, I would just be restating. I think I might have already accidentally restated, but yeah, I'm going to try to stop restating what I've said about the others. One thing, I don't know why, it does matter how hard you try, but I really appreciated just how little context there is here, because really again, going off the Steam release order, this is the first of these to just essentially have no real context. Like, there's a mirror in the room that you're stuck in, so you can see yourself. You can, you have physical form. That's about what you know. And I kind of found that really, yeah, like, just that was a really, really cool, especially considering that this was the first. Like, I think I might have an idea about who you are playing as here. I'm not gonna give it away, but yeah, like, it's very daring to provide this little of, like, I mean, yeah, you're a person, you have a human form based on your reflection in the mirror, and you're stuck in this room and you want to get out, and they're kind of betting that that's enough, and yeah, I thought it was, and it's, I'll just briefly, so of the recent reviews, 97% on Steam are positive, and of the, and yeah, also all 97%. So yeah. And it's not like, oh, free games always have, no. There are free games out there that have garbage ratings on Steam. Steam, the player base is not necessarily going to be like, oh, well, it's free, so, yeah, I think that is absolutely everything. Yeah, continuing to really dig these, and yeah, this is one of the rare ones from this franchise where you don't have to wait for it to frequently go on sale.